Well, hello, welcome again to Introduction to New Testament Greek, and this is the second part of chapter 14. This is the exercises, so there are 10 sentences, and then I'll do a little passage as well. So it begins with, so zomethaga te elpidi kai te kariti tu theou. So for, this is passive here from sozo, we are being saved. And then because it's passive, we have a dative for the agent here, by the hope. This is from this third declension elpis, genitive elpidos, so the dative is elpidi. It's feminine, meaning hope. And this is also from charis, charitos. This is the dative, it's also feminine. So for we are being saved by hope, or by the hope and by the grace of God. Eidon ton andra kai ten gunaika autou, metates thugatros auton. Now it's either I or they. I'll take it as I. So I, because it's ambiguous, the context will tell you the difference, but there's no context here. So I saw the man, this is the accusative from aner, andros, and this is from gune, gunaikos. Now, gune can mean woman, it can also mean wife, just as andra can mean man or can mean husband in the context. So I saw the man, and here I would say, and his wife, because of the autou. Metates thugatros, this is genitive from thugater, so with their daughter, with the daughter of them. U pistuomen ento archonti tu cosmu, ala ento patri ton anthropon. We do not believe in, so pistuo can take either a dative or en, can also take with epi, but here we do not believe in, this is from archon, the ruler, dative here in, it's masculine, in the ruler of this world, but in the patri, dative from pater, the father of, you could say of men or of mankind. The word has a fairly general meaning. Again, it depends on context, but it's not necessarily a male or female, especially in the plural it can mean of mankind. Jesus apen, ego ami tophos tu cosmu, baptiso humas, en hudati kai en puri. I notice I've left a little accent out there. Put it in. So Jesus said, there's that past tense of lego, very common. Ego ami, I am, very emphatic, ego, I am, tophos, the light, third declension, phos, photos, of the world. Baptiso, future, see from the sigma, I will baptize humas, you, in hudati, from hudor, hudatos, water, and puri, fire, from pur, puros. Eidon ton paralutikon erchomenon pros ton thuran kai epon autou. Hup age eis ton oikon. I saw, it could be they saw, perhaps we'll take it as they for change. So they saw, Eidon from horao, the irregular strong aorist. They saw the paralysed man coming, participle from erchomai. We haven't seen oblique participles in other cases, but the deponent middle verbs ending in menos can decline just as you would expect. So you can use these in lots of contexts here now. We haven't done the general participle for active verbs. That will be done, you'll have to see that in another book. So, for they saw the paralysed man coming to the door, and they said to him, Hup age, this is imperative, from hup ago with the epsilon, so go or depart into the house. Could just say go into the house or depart into the house. Hoparalutikos apethanen kai einen kon tosoma autou diates hodou. Tauta eidon tois idiois ophthalmos mu. The paralyzed man. Now, apethanen is from apothenesco, so you've got your augment and the root, aorist root, and it's a strong aorist. So the paralyzed man died, kai einenkon. This is the irregular aorist from pharaoh, and it's a strong aorist. And notice the change of subject here. The paralyzed man died, and they, I think I'll take it as they here, they carried tosoma autu, his body, dia tes hodou, well, you could say through the path or along the road, something like that, for dia tes hodou. Tauta aidon tois idiois ophthalmos mu. I saw these things. Now this is another use of the dative we haven't come across much. It's called the instrumental dative. The dative case is used for two or four, but it can also be used in place of an old ablative, meaning with. So it's with my own eyes, with the own eyes of me, so with my own eyes. That's a fairly common use of the dative. So dative of the instrument it's called, with my own eyes. Ho Christos ephagen, ton arton, kai apien ton oinon. Hon hoimathetai elabonato. The Messiah, ephagen, this is the irregular strong aorist from esthio, ephagon. The Messiah ate, or ate the bread, and this is the strong aorist from pino, and he drank the wine. The wine which, hoimathetai, the disciples, elabon, gave to him. Elabon, strong aorist from lambano. Ho Jesus egno ton chiron tu thanatu autu kai ebulato pascain hupatu cosmo. And Jesus knew, this is the past tense of ginosko, this is the aorist from ginosko, he knew the time of his death, and ebulato, he wished, imperfect from bulamai, to suffer, huper, on behalf of, I'm not sure we've had that one yet, but it's huper plus the genitive, on behalf of the world, another one of the prepositions. Hosoter pempatai hupertu theou sodzane ton cosmon, kai lelese ento onomati tes aletheias. The Saviour, now this is passive, so is sent, and so it's followed by hupo with the passive. The Saviour is being sent by God, sodzane, infinitive, to save ton cosmon, the world, and future, he will speak, ento onomati, from onoma, onomatos genitive, onomati dative, he will speak in the name of truth, or of the truth. Ento onomati tu Christou poiesu si kala erga paithain tus paidas, hoti elegen logus pistus kai dikaius. So the main verb is here, and it's a future from poieo. They will do beautiful works in the name of the Messiah. To persuade, infinitive here. Classical would do it slightly differently, but here it's just a straight infinitive sort of purpose. So they will do beautiful works in the name of the Messiah to persuade the children, to paidas, that he was speaking words faithful and just. So Greek likes to do this. It takes a noun and then it'll have two adjectives with a chi in between. So in English we would say they will do beautiful works in the name of the Messiah to persuade the children that he was speaking faithful and just words. Greek says words faithful and just. Now, little reading passage here. This is from John 4. Lege aute Hup age phoneson ton andra su kai elthean thade, apicrithe hegune kai apen auto, uk echo andra. Lege aute ho Jesus kalos apas hoti andra uk echo, pente ga andras esges, kai nun hon eches, u estin su ane. Lege auto hegune, curie theoro hoti prophetes e su. Hoi pateres hemon ento ore tuto, pros ecunes son, kai humes, legete hoti en hierosolumois, est in hotopos hopu pros cunain dei. Lege aute ho Jesus pistuete moi gunai, hoti ercotai hora, hote uti enter oro tuto, ute en hierosolumois, proscunesiti to patri, humes proscunete houk oidati, hemes proscunumen ho oidamen, hoti heit soteria ecton iudion estin. Ala ercotai hora kai non estin, hote hoi alethinoi proscunetai, proscunesus into patri in pneumati kai aletheia. So hopefully you may have been able to have picked up a little bit of the story here with this. So lege, historic present, he says to her. We would say he said, but Greek often uses the present. He says to her, hupage, we had that just a minute ago, that's the imperative from hupago, so depart, so go away, and phoneson, this is an aorist imperative. We haven't had this ending, but the we've had the imperative epsilon for the present, and this is from phoneo, so the epsilon lengthens, and the aorist imperative ending is son, but you will often get things happen with the sigma, but here it's easy because it's a contracted epsilon verb, so that lengthens to eta. So depart, call, ton andra su. Now here's where it means husband. So call your husband, kai elthe en thade. Now this is an example of a strong aorist imperative. It uses the same ending, the epsilon we saw here. You can probably recognise the root here. We've had aelthon, I came. If you de-augment that, you get elth, which is the aorist root from aelthon, and then you simply add the epsilon for the imperative. So this is a strong aorist imperative, but it uses the present imperative ending attached to the aorist stem. So, and come here. So depart, call your husband, and come here. Apecrithe hegune kai apen auto. Very stock standard expression, especially in John's Gospel. It's fairly Hebraic. It's the woman, hegune, answered and said to him. This is the aorist from apokrinomai, to answer. It's technically an aorist passive, but it's a middle deponent verb, but it goes into the passive in the aorist. Anyway, it just simply means answered. You'll see that very commonly. So the woman answered and said to him, Uk echo andra, I do not have a husband. Lege auto ho Jesus, Jesus says to her. Now kalos is an example of an adverb. We haven't done adverbs, but this is one here. So you take kalos, which is the word meaning beautiful or good, and you simply change the os into os, and you get an adverb. So the adverb in English of good is something like well. Apas, we've had apon, it's a strong aorist, but as I mentioned before, in Koine Greek, and even in some bits of late classical Greek, the strong aorist is morphing back into the weak aorist in some instances. So it should technically be a pes, you said, but they're going back and using the weak aorist ending a pas. So you spoke kalos well. So well did you say, we put in English, that, and then this hottie is like inverted commas here. So we would say in English, well did you say, inverted commas, I do not have a husband. For Ex.6 is the aorist from echo. It's an irregular verb again. There's reasons for the sigma here, but I won't go into them. This is just the second person, strong aorist. It's esgon in the first person, esgon, Ex.6, esgen. So it's a strong aorist from echo. So for you had 5 husbands, and now Greek often will use a relative pronoun without any antecedent. So in English you've got to put something in. So it's up to understand the husband or the man whom you have now. Now there's no word man in here, you've got to put it in English. And so the man understood whom you have now, uk est in su ara, is not your husband. Lege auto, so the woman says to him, Kyrie, there's a vocative again, from kurios, Lord, Kyrie, Lord Theoro, I see that you are prophetes, a prophet. Hoi pateres, we've had pater now, pateros, this is the plural nominative. So it's the fathers of us, so our fathers, pros ekunesan, there's the aorist from pros kuneo. So that's the augment. Epsilon lengthens to eta, then you add your weak aorist ending san, and you get the past tense from proscuneo, to worship. So our fathers worshipped ento ore tuto, on this mountain. Now this is from a third declension neuter noun ending in os. Now we haven't done those, and you'll have to find these in a grammar book, but I thought I may as well just explain to you how the third declension neuter nouns work in, which we haven't got time to cover them in detail. So the trick with these third declension neuter nouns ending in os, now that's confusing because the os looks like second declension masculine, so you have to learn these carefully. So you learn to oros to tell you it's a neuter, and when you see it ending in os, you know it's a third declension neuter. Now the trick with these third declension neuter nouns is to simply remember that there's an epsilon in the stem. So when you learn to oros, you have to remember that the stem of this is ore. And that's the same with all of these nouns ending in os, these neuter nouns, the third declension ending in os. You take off the os, you put an epsilon in there, and that's where you're going to form the different tenses. So you add in, this is a dative, so you add the normal third declension dative ending I, and you get the dative. And that's what we had up there above. So I've written out the declension here of this. So oros, oros, the nominative is always the same as the accusative. Now for the and the dative, as I said, you just take the ore and you add the dative ending in. Now for the genitive ending is os, so you add os onto the stem, but then you get contraction. So et plus o gives you u. Now again, that's very confusing, I know, because this looks like an accusative plural, but in fact it's a genitive singular of these nouns. That's why you have to learn these carefully. Always learn them with the article so that you know that they're third declension. So orus is the genitive, and then ore. In the plural, again, you've got ore, and then the normal neuter plural ending is alpha, and these combine to give you eta. And again, this is confusing because it looks like a first declension feminine, but in fact it's a third declension plural. This is the word for mountains. Accusative always the same as nominative for neuter nouns, and then you get reon, and the epsilon and the omega combine. That's why you've got a funny accent here. So it's oron, and then re, and you add the normal sin ending for the third declension dative plural, and there's the epsilon I mentioned before, so that's the dative plural. Okay, so coming back to here, so our fathers worshipped on this mountain, this is a dative, and you, legete, you lot, so you Jews, say that, literally in Jerusalem. Now there are various spellings of Jerusalem, some that don't decline, that just are Jerusalem and there's no endings on it. This one is only used in the plural, and this is a dative plural after n. It doesn't mean plural, it's just what happened with the language. They're taking a Jewish word, putting it into Greek, and they've decided to decline it and think of it as a plural. So, but you say that in Jerusalem is the place hodou where. Now, day we haven't come across. That's an impersonal verb. It means it is necessary, and it takes an infinitive. So where it is necessary to worship. So we turn it around in English. You say that the place where it is necessary to worship is in Jerusalem. Lege aletheias, Jesus says to her, pistuete moi gunai. This is a vocative from gunei. We've had gunei, a woman. This is the vocative form. There's not many of these strange vocatives, but this is one of them. So this is a vocative, O woman. And this is an imperative. Believe me, takes a dative, O woman, that horror, the hour, erchotai, is coming. Hote, not confuse this with hoti. We've got hoti meaning that. Hote means when. We get ute, neither nor. So neither on this mountain, there's the ore again, nor in Jerusalem. You will worship, proskuneo, and it's a future, you can see how it's formed there. You will worship, it takes a dative, the Father, to patri. Humes, you, this is just a normal present, contracted from proskuneo. You are worshipping. Now again, we get a relative pronoun with no antecedent, so we have to say that, understood in English. That which, uk oidity, we've had oida before, I think, like ginosko, that which you do not know. We are worshipping that which we know, oidamen. Because salvation, soteria, is from the Iudaian, from the Jews. Al erchotai, but the hour is coming, and now is, there's the hote again, when the true aletheias, this is an adjective, proskunetai. This is from proskunetes. It's a first declension masculine noun. You can see it's connected with the verb, proskuneo, to worship. Proskunetes is a worshipper. So when the true worshippers will worship, Greek likes to have nouns and corresponding verbs. It happens in classical Greek as well. They like the cognate words here. So when the true worshippers will worship the Father, en pneumati, in spirit and in truth. Now that is the end of this section, and it's the end of the recordings here. So I'll just mention in passing, we haven't covered, of course, all of Greek grammar. So you will need to get a grammar book to finish off the material. You'll need to have a look, for example, at the, well, I've mentioned here the third declension neuter nouns. I've gone through those here. You'll need to learn about third declension adjectives and a word called tis, the interrogative and indefinite pronouns. There's also some third declension nouns with vowel stems. They're not very difficult, but you'll find those in a grammar book. You'll need to look at adjectives in the first and third declensions, and the words pas, pasapan, meaning all, heis me, a hen, meaning one, and then udes, medes, polus, which is a word meaning many or much, and megas, meaning large. These are third declension adjectives. We haven't covered comparison of adjectives. I mentioned adverbs briefly. You'll need to learn about the perfect tense. We've only done the present, imperfect, aorist and future. There's also a perfect, and much rarer there's a pluperfect tense. I haven't done the aorist and future passives, so there are more endings to learn there. You get those from a grammar book. And you need to have a look more detail in participles in all the various cases. The good news there is that they follow essentially third declension endings, third declension noun endings. You'll need to learn about the genitive absolute and periphrastic tenses, the subjunctive mood we haven't covered, the optative mood, which is extremely rare, and also there are contracted verbs in alpha omega and omicron omega, uh-oh and uh-oh verbs. And there are similar rules for contraction as we saw for the eh-oh verbs. Finally, you'll need to come to grips with some of them. There's not very many of them, but there's a couple of me verbs, verbs which end in me, mu, iota. There's tithemi, didomi, and the hardest one of all is histemi. There are a few others in the New Testament, but tithemi, didomi, histemi are the main three. So you'll need to get a grammar book to learn all those bits and pieces, and then you should be able to begin reading with some fluency, I hope, the New Testament. I would suggest you begin with either John's Gospel or Mark's Gospel. I have recorded both of those on my YouTube channels, as well as all of the rest of the New Testament, but a good place to start is John's Gospel or Mark's Gospel. So good luck with your study of New Testament Greek.